Upijana Vallabha Girivardhari Upijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajanaranjana Yashodanandana Prajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayadhatha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Shapad Varham Survacharya Shrotra Shashvan Swangre Exit Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Shapad Varham Survacharya Shrotra Shashvan Swangre Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Parantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai All good system devotees Hare Krishna All good system devotees Hare Krishna All gurus assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All gurus to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Prasthaya Putale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. We are happy to be here. We've been given the topic of facing adversities peacefully by taking shelter of Guru and Krishna. It's a very lofty topic. All of you are staying here for how many years? Please. This is yoga. How many are staying for more than 5 years? More than 5 years, more than 4 years, more than 3 years, more than 2 years. And of course, I believe you must be practicing before that. You're staying here right now. This is those who are working also, students plus working mixed. Hare Krishna. Hmm. So if we ask a basic question in terms of why we have come to Krishna consciousness, what was our initial motive of coming to Krishna consciousness? Anybody would like to share? What was the basic motive for which we came to Krishna consciousness? Yes, some material motives like to have nice prasadam. Okay, anybody else? Yes, to get relief from distress. Very important. Yes, to give up bad habits. Okay, very good. Yes, anybody else? To get peace of mind. So peace of mind is also to get relief from distress, become peaceful. Distress is like a negative zone. you know, Peace is like a neutral, and happiness is above, right? And bliss is super, above happiness, which apparently people in the material world are not even conscious of. People, for most of them, happiness is a relief from distress, isn't it? For most of the people, happiness, what people perceive as happiness, is just a relief from distress. They feel, somebody is not beating us means peaceful. If somebody is continuously beating, somebody is feeling pain, and when the beating stops, person feels peaceful. It is peace. It is not happiness, right? Just like there is a disease zone, there is a neutral zone, there is a healthy zone. When a person has appetite, it means one is healthy. In the disease state, one does not have a good appetite, does not feel like eating, or if you eat, you don't get the taste. Right? There are symptoms of a disease, but just to come out of disease, and then there is a positive stage of healthiness where one is able to have a good appetite, one is able to have able to eat some good foodstuffs. So unfortunately, in the material world, people feel happiness means relief of distress, but it is just a neutral zone. There is much more positive to it. So we are talking about adversities, not even difficulties. I will try to express this particular topic in bits and pieces in terms of one section is about taking shelter. That is our basic solution, taking shelter of Guru and Krishna. But to take shelter of the process of taking shelter of Guru and Krishna, what will be the result of it is one will be able to face adversities peacefully. The process is taking shelter, and the result will be facing adversities peacefully. But just now, when I asked some of the motives for which we came to Krishna consciousness, we are basically saying we have come to relieve, get relief from distress. If we have come to get relief from distress, do we want to face distress? We came in order to get rid of it, and now we are learning how to face it. Why we are learning how to face it? It is the nature of material world. Very good. Anybody else? Yeah, so if we don't face distress, what will happen? We will go out of Krishna consciousness. Okay. Yes. We will. Material world is all in all. Here only. Anybody else?
Bewilderment. not to know how to do so result in confusion, lead to distress.
We will not be equipped. We will not be equipped with specific tools in terms of how to face. Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Stress will not take shelter of our life.
We will not take shelter. Very important. Good. Good point. So one of the motivations to take shelter is distress. Usually, how you see children, how they, as soon as they you hear some thunder and lightning, immediately they run towards their parents, particularly mother, small children. As soon as there is some distress, as some difficulty, immediately one wants to take shelter. If we don't even know how to face difficulties, first and foremost, as some of you very rightly said, this is the nature of the material world. Then, as if we are being raised in a utopian environment, like you see Siddharth, no, who later on became Gautam Buddha, right? When he was put in a situation in a palace, raised in a palace, where apparently he did not see difficulties. He did not even see old age and disease, raised in such a royal atmosphere. But when he stepped out and saw, oh, there are people getting old, there are people getting diseased, there are people who die. It was a eureka experience for him to see that distress. Somebody who is raised in an atmosphere where there is no distress, of course, not everybody becomes like Gautam Buddha. You know what happens usually to a person who is not exposed to distress? First and foremost, we have to understand, as many of you said, it is the nature of this material world to have distress, which basically means it is inevitable. Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. This is a place of misery. Is that guaranteed? The person who has the Supreme Lord who has created the universe has stamped it. It is Dukkhalayam. In Dukkhalayam, one who knows how to face distress is more happier than one who does not know how to face distress. Is it not? It's like one who is prepared for the exams is more peaceful than one who has never taken the book to study for the exams. Is exam inevitable? Yes. Means if you compare the exam with the distress which is part of the material world, exam is inevitable. To get prepared for the exam is intelligence, or I would say even more finer, it's common sense. When we know we have an exam, it is common sense to be prepared for the exam. Similarly, this material world distress is inevitable, and to be prepared for it is intelligence or common sense. It will help us, equip us to survive peacefully in this material world. The more we run away from it, the more it runs after us. Like Prahlad Maharaj used to say, Yata ayatnatam dukkhata, dukkham yata ayatnata. This is just as miseries come on its own, happiness will also come on its own. Nobody goes to the temple to offer a prayer for getting miseries. There are great souls, of course, Kunti Maharani is there, who prays Vipada Santuta Sashvat Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru. Bhavata Darshanam Yatsyat Apunar Bhava Darshanam. She prays that let there be calamities. Let there be calamities, because whenever there are calamities, what happens? You come in our life. No? Krishna, no, we get your presence. And whenever we see you, there is no repetition of birth and death. So if distress comes, we take your shelter. So Kunti Maharani goes to the extent of saying, let there be calamities. It requires a great heart to offer a prayer like that. Let there be calamities. But at least in our life, we have to understand the basic concept that distress, to one who learns to face distress, is very, very much equipped. Like in company, you go through a training process. Once your training course is over, then you're put in a particular project you are very much, you know how to handle it. Without training, you are, every time you may have to ask your colleagues, you have to find out, you have to Google something, so many things will be there. But if you are equipped, trained, you know how to handle it. Similarly, the process of distress, the more one is exposed to it, and the more one goes through it, and the more one is equipped to adapt oneself through the difficulties, then such a person actually survives very peacefully. What is that? Samadhistasya Keshava. What is 2.54? Remember, where Arjuna is asking, what is the Sthita Pragya Saka Bhasha? What is the symptoms of a Sthita Pragya? So what is a Sthita Pragya? Is basically one who is situated in the self, one who is transcendent, one who is not affected by the difficulties. Which is why immediately, just 2 verses afterwards, Dukkhesh Anudvigna Manaha, Sukkhesh Vigata Spraha, Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha, 256. Just 2 verses later, Krishna is basically explaining the symptoms. Dukkheshu Anudvigna Manaha, Sukkeshu Vigata Spraha. He is not affected neither by miseries nor even by happiness. That will be a different concept, not to get affected by happiness. But as of now, we are trying to focus on the distress part of it. So the one who is equipped to deal with the distress, he is unaffected. That is why in that purport, Prabhupada gives very beautiful purport in terms of dealing with miseries, especially what happens to a devotee, especially in terms of an aspiring candidate. When we face with difficulties, what should be the right consciousness in which we have to accept miseries? Srila Prabhupada says, one is we have to accept miseries as the mercy of the Lord. Yes, we have to accept misery as mercy of the Lord. Second, he says we have to accept misery as first we have to understand that we are supposed to get more, but our quota has been reduced by the grace of the Lord. Right now, we are just trying to run away from why misery is coming. Just look at the perspective. If we have this perspective, our whole outlook of looking at misery changes. What is the first thing is Prabhupada says? Looking at misery as mercy of the Lord. Second, we are supposed to get more. We are supposed to get more misery, but it is reduced to the minimal by the grace of the Lord. It is reduced to the minimal. Prabhupada that was one disciple who used to cut subs. Is a famous example. His finger got cut while cutting vegetables, and then when he goes to Prabhupada, Prabhupada says, "What does he say? Your neck was supposed to be cut, but instead of that, only the finger has cut while cutting sabji." A simple analogy, but what is the depth of message conveyed in this? The amount of miseries that we are supposed to get. It's like, we have taken, for those who take home loans, for the next 10 years, 20 years, there is an EMI. You say easy monthly installments, not so easy. EMIs every month. So miseries, what we are actually getting is basically EMIs, small installments that we are getting for a big loan that we have taken, right? For a big loan that one has taken, one keeps paying monthly installments. Similarly, for some sinful reaction, for some sins, for some offenses that one has committed in the past, one keeps getting monthly installments or daily installments in our language, right? We are getting some reaction of the past. That is what the sins or the offenses is going to cause. So when one goes through that, if one is able to see it as mercy, our whole outlook will change. Again, not easy, but at least theoretically let us understand the concept to help us drill into it. And second is it has been minimized by the grace of the Lord. That means I was supposed to pay 25,000 monthly EMI, and I am supposed to pay right now only 500 rupees monthly. How much a person will feel relief? 25,000 is reduced to 500. That is what Bhagavatam says. The water that is contained in the ocean gets reduced to the hoof prints of the calf, size of the hoof prints of the calf. We may not able to, we may not be able to experience or really realize what we are actually going through, but at least theoretically we have to learn to accept this. Over a period of time, by the practice, we will keep getting glimpses again in EMIs. We will get installments of realizations also, as we go through the process, as we take shelter of the spiritual master and Krishna. One will be able to experience this. So the one is to see it as a mercy of the Lord. Second is to see it as this is minimized by the grace of the Lord. In that sense, a devotee feels actually grateful. Another very important aspect in terms of facing misery is that when our EMI, the term of EMI, if we have a 10-year tenure of 10 years to pay EMI, and if we have completed 6 years, only 4 more years are remaining. So we know, okay, 6 is done, only 4 more years, 4 into 12, 48 months, only that much is remaining. Then 8 years are over, only 2 years are remaining. So as we keep paying regularly our EMIs, one will feel, yes, my EMIs, my principal amount has reduced, interest reduced. When you see reduction in your principal amount and you see the reduction in the amount that you have to pay, you feel happy. Again, relief from distress. But that itself gives happiness, that I have to pay now less. Earlier I was supposed to pay 20 lakhs, now only 2 lakhs is remaining. You feel happy about it. Similarly, when we go through misery, when we go through distress, if we have this understanding, 18 lakhs is over, 2 more lakhs are remaining, you will actually feel, since we have to anyway go through it, let us go through it in a proper frame of mind, in a proper consciousness, rather than cribbing. Typically, what happens when we go through a difficulty? Cribbing, crying, right? Or criticisms. Why me? Somebody calls us at 6:30 in the morning. Prabhuji. Then we look around. Nobody else is there. So anything that we go through, how do we perceive it? If we go through in a proper frame of mind, if we go through in a proper consciousness, in the same situation of misery also, so-called misery, one will actually make advancement. Talk about the consciousness and the famous example of the mason who is building, construction, putting the bricks, 3 different types of masons, those who are putting bricks and cement. When if the first person is asked, what are you doing? He says, I am just earning my daily wages. So his understanding of putting the brick and the cement together is, I am earning. And the second person, when he is asked, he is saying, I am maintaining my family. He is asked, what are you doing? But he is saying, I am maintaining my family. Because by this, I will earn some money. I will be sending this money by courier to my family who is very far off. And then third mason, when he is asked, what are you doing? He says, I am building a temple. It's just the consciousness. All three are doing the same thing. But one is feeling, I am just earning to enjoy. One is feeling, I am here to support my family. And the third is having the understanding that I am building temple for the Lord. Same activity, but the consciousness is different. And when the consciousness is different, what one actually undergoes is very different. Because a person can be in happiness even in so-called poverty-stricken conditions. It is our mental conception where we have somebody may be rich, but if he's still hankering for more, he's in distress, isn't it? And typically a rich person always wants to climb higher. If we are hankering for something, that means we are in distress. But if we are satisfied, even if we have little, that means one is happy. It is not what we possess, but our consciousness which can determine our state of happiness. This does not mean one should not climb, but it very much means what should be the frame of mind or what should be the consciousness which gives rise to that happiness or at least that relief from distress. So if the word used when the topic is adversities, it is not even difficulties. Adversity is something, what we are typically distressed or disturbed. Maybe sometimes our own mind is disturbing most of the times. Sometimes we are disturbed by, why are you encroaching my locker? Why can't you keep things in your place? Or why things are lying here and there. Somebody is concerned about cleanliness. Somebody is concerned about, I am not getting privacy. Whatever. Everybody will have their own things. This is not adversity. Right now, what we are going through, most of us, in our own phases of life, right, is not called adversity. Adversity adversity means something major turmoil in our lives. Like Narad Muni, when he was a son of a maid servant, suddenly he found that his mother went to she was bitten by a snake. Suddenly she passed away. As a small 5-year-old boy, to hear that my mother has passed away, that's called adversity. Or typically what we call as aggression. Somebody's house is looted, somebody's house is on fire, things like that. But that means we are talking about major things. Adversity, that's what is adversity. We should understand what we are going through is not adversity. It's small inconveniences, which unfortunately we are not getting used to. People in this age of comfort zone, we are used to so much comfort. Even when we go through the lift, also we feel, pankha lagana chahiye, AC hona chahiye. Isn't it? It's a transition. It's not even a minute. It may take 30 seconds to reach your destination. But even in that, I'm just talking about the mentality. Earlier, even when lift was not there, people had no difficulty. Of course, when you have a skyscraper building, you need to have a lift. I'm just talking about the concept. For small momentary things, we are looking for comforts. And when one gets used to it, the moment there is discomfort, which is technically inconvenience, one gets disturbed. So what we go through is not adversity. It's very minimal inconveniences, which we feel as disturbance. And that also, if we learn how to handle it, one will be very peaceful. If we learn how to handle, either we learn how to handle projects or we learn how to handle people. And if we know how to handle both, we'll be very peaceful. how to handle projects and how to handle people. One will be very peaceful if we understand the art of it, if you understand the if you understand uh, the skills required for it. I would actually say sometimes skills required for it to understand certain aspects. If we go through this, one will be very peaceful. But our whole process is basically spiritual. That is taking shelter of Guru and Krishna. This is the process which will lead one to facing adversities peacefully. So, right in the beginning, when we're discussing that, one of the reasons for one to come to Krishna consciousness is to get relief from distress. But that is not the whole process. Krishna himself telling Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita that, oh, if you take to Krishna consciousness, there will be no more miseries. This is not what Krishna advocates. Take to bhakti and there will be no more miseries. Rather, what does he tell Arjuna? Matara sparshasta kaunteya shita ushna sukha dukkada agama apayano anityas tams titikshasva bharata. Even to a personality like Arjuna, Krishna is right in front of him. But Krishna is telling Arjuna, learn to tolerate. Krishna could have told Arjuna, I will take care, don't worry. At the end, he anyway says, Sarvadana Paridajya, Mamekam Sharanam Raja, Aham Tam Sarvapapebhyo, Mokshayishami Masucha. But still he has said, Tam Stitishya Bharata. Learn to tolerate, which basically means, even if you are a personality like Arjuna, you still have to face difficulties. Because it is inevitable in this material world. What Pandavas went through, that we can call as adversities. Their house being put on fire, wife kidnapped, right? No? Plunders, riches being plundered. They went through all that. And still Krishna is telling, Tamstateshasva, learn to tolerate. Because that is the reality of this material world. So when one accepts that as a reality, when one learns to face it, so one is the unfortunate situation is where people try to escape. We try to escape from it, or we try to that ostrich mentality, as if there is no misery. Put yourself under the blanket and then feel there is no misery. Well, that is very momentary. As soon as you remove the blanket, people are still there, projects are still there, you are still alive, right? Reality, we have to still face the reality. So the worst is that people want to run away from it. Then there are people who feel as if there is no problem at all. But those who are realistic, accept there are issues, accept there are problems, accept there are adversities, and learn to face it. Such a person becomes very strong. Such a person becomes very mature. Such a person learns to maneuver or survive in this material world. But the whole process is taking shelter of Guru and Krishna. This is the process which will help us to equip ourselves to face adversities. Just like when a person has umbrella, when there is a rainy season, if you have umbrella with you, you are not fearful of going out. What if rains? What if it rains? Even if it rains, I have an umbrella, right? You're equipped. Similarly, one who takes shelter of Guru and Krishna is equipped to face the adversities peacefully. Is the point clear? This is how devotees, by taking shelter, Prabhupada used to when Brahmanand Prabhu used to ask Prabhupada about Prabhupada in the, I think it was in the seashore, and Brahmanand Prabhu was running after the, I think it was crabs, and these crabs were, uh, it's like the seashore just outside the water, uh, almost in the sand, and then when he's trying to catch it, it goes inside the sand, and some of them goes deep inside the sand, goes into the water, and is not able to. Brahmanand Prabhu is proper disciple, one of the heftiest bodies, and Prabhupada was laughing, looking at Brahmanand Prabhu trying to catch this small crabs, huge body, but you're not able to catch this. He was asking why. Why? Because these crabs are taking shelter of the sand, or they are going deep into the waters. So when one takes shelter, even if one has a small body, but if you take shelter, you are fearless. You've seen sometimes small children, small children, if they are just roaming around, if they happen to be in the temple, they may not be afraid of catching somebody's shikha also. If some brahmachari is chanting, small child can just go and pull it. Any of us would dare? We will be, hey, what are you doing? But the small child, one is innocence, one is he doesn't understand, and the second is that he has a shelter. When he knows my parents are there, he's not fearful of, even if in the opposite, even if somebody is very hefty, even if his father may be skinny, but still the child has faith in his father. The father himself will not have faith. But the child has faith in his father. That is innocence. Similarly, when one takes shelter, one actually becomes fearless. Abhaya Charanaravindre. When one takes shelter, one actually becomes fearless. And of course, fearless in the sense that one is able to face adversities peacefully. So the process is to take shelter. Just like I gave the example of umbrella. Similarly, when Lord Shri Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill offered shelter to all the devotees, whether it was Gopas, Gopis, Vrajavasis, entire Vrajavasis. Everyone came under the shelter of Govardhan. When Krishna has lifted the Govardhan hill, except for one personality, which is who was the one who was disturbed? Indra. Except for Indra, everybody else was happy, sheltered. Of course, multiple reasons, and Govardhan Leela is multifaceted. Multiple reasons for devotees to be happy, because the foremost of it is all of them were simply glancing at the beautiful lotus face of Sri Krishna. Everybody was just immersed and absorbed. The Gopas would get Krishna's presence in the daytime. Gopis would get Krishna's presence in the night time. But here, day and night, 24/7, 7 days, all of them were just gazing at the beautiful lotus face or the beautiful body of Krishna. That itself was a great solace for them. They forgot eating, drinking, and everything else, sleeping, and everything else. But the point is, when Krishna is lifting the Govardhan hill, it offers shelter to the devotees. In fact, Govardhan was one of the reasons Govardhan is known as Haridas Avarya, as Govardhan was known for offering shelter to the plants, to the creepers, it offers as a playground for the Gopas. So basically, Govardhan was giving pleasure to the devotees. Govardhan was known for that as Haridas Avarya. So when Krishna lifts the Govardhan hill, it offers shelter to all. Similarly, when one takes shelter of the process of Krishna consciousness, chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, associating with devotees, of the 64 principles which Rupa Goswami has laid down, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, What are the top 5? Naam Sankirtan, Bhagavad Shravan, Sadhu Sangha Association of Devotees, Dhamvas, worshipping deities or Tulsi. Yeah. 5 processes, 5 angas. Out of the 64 processes, 5 are considered with the top most essential. And all this gets accomplished if we participate in a morning program in the temple. Chant the holy names. We are associating with the devotees. We have darshan of the deities. We are in Dham temple. Prabhupada used to say our ISKCON temples are in Vaikuntha, Dham. And so all this gets accomplished by attending a morning program in the temple. The 5 most essential aspects which of the 64 which Srila Rupa Goswami is enunciating, all this gets accomplished simply by being in the temple. So when one takes shelter of the process, what one is equipped with is facing adversities peacefully. If we map it, if we try to run away from it, we are not understanding the process only. That means we thought, oh, we still ask, after chanting for so many years, still there is so much difficulty. We are not understanding the process only. Because Krishna has never guaranteed that if you take to Krishna consciousness, all miseries will be evaporated. So when we go through the process, when we take shelter, one actually gets fearlessness. Of course, this does not mean we are looking for misery, we are hunting for misery. There is no need for it, as we discussed, because this is part of the material world. It's inevitable. But while it comes, the more one is equipped, and the equipment one gets is by learning to take shelter of Krishna and the spiritual master. No? That is why you see Prabhupada's life, so much difficulties, so much adversities that he went through. But if you see how he faced it peacefully, in his place, somebody else would have committed suicide, would have run away, so many things they could have. Different people react differently. Prabhupada, even when his company was, when he practically lost everything in the office, in the company, even at that time, Prabhupada was taking shelter of Guru and Krishna. Now, this is not easy. This is not something theoretical. One will have to go through the process, and one will have to experience that. And in that experience, that is when Srila Prabhupada was able to laugh at it. In adversities, who can laugh in adversity? Is only one who has taken shelter. The default mode is, voice does not come out. One gets choked up. One goes into ecstasy, choked up, and or sometimes you just start crying. But for someone who can laugh at it, is one who has taken shelter. So what we are learning in this process of Krishna consciousness is to become very strong and mature while we are surviving in this material world. And if we learn this, one is peaceful in any condition. Like Prabhupada said, for a devotee, if we learn kirtans, a little bit of preaching, and cooking, if we learn these 3 things, you can be situated anywhere, but you can survive. Even if for some reason, for job postings, one may have to travel to different places. If you know a little bit of cooking, kirtans, and preaching, you can survive and manage in any place. That means one becomes equipped. So the process is so powerful that it makes us equipped to become strong and survive in any place. But we have to understand this will not happen unless we take shelter. Unless we take shelter. The shelter means just like we're talking about the same 5 aspects, the 5 important angas out of the 64 ones. Taking shelter means absorbing ourselves while we are doing these activities. I mean the very same chanting, right? The same chanting, like a 2-year-old devotee also chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and a 30-year-old or 50-year-old devotee also chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But when we see our spiritual masters, when we see Prabhupada disciples, when we see senior devotees chanting, do we see a difference in the level of their absorption, in the level of their affection, in the level of doing it as, why another day I have to stand, doing it in that mode, or they're looking forward for it? What is it? Do we see a difference in somebody who is a neophyte in chanting and somebody who has spent many years, proper disciples or senior devotees? When we see the difference that we see is because they are learning to take shelter in the process. Because what we have received, this is especially when someone receives initiation, it's like you're getting the shelter in the form of the beads, right? That means what? Process is given. The more one takes shelter, the more one benefits from it. Our process is not like, oh, beads are there, hang it in the wall. This is not like a photograph. Just hang it. Of course, nowadays people don't even offer fresh garlands every day. Usually outside, I'm talking about. You have one permanent picture and you have one permanent garland. Task is easier and it looks fresh. Photo also looks fresh. Garland also looks fresh. But shelter means what? One puts efforts every day. So beadbag is not something for just to be hanging in the wall. But if we take shelter, then what happens? One actually gets strength. Instead of just going through the process, one can actually grow through the process. Otherwise, we'll be simply going through it. Anyway, we are going through it. Would we like to grow through it? If we want to grow through it, we have to take shelter of the process, especially of spiritual master, especially of Krishna. And of course, all these 5 angas, the 5 important aspects associating with the devotees, is very, very essential for us. All this gets, all these gets combined by association with devotees. We'll actually be able to get the benefit of all of these put together. Hare Krishna. I think I'll stop in the interest of time. If anybody has any comments or any questions, I'll just take. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Shubh. My question is regarding, as you said that during adversities you have to take the shelter of Krishna, and if you are following the process nicely, the result outcome will be we will be able to take shelter in adversities. But not being at the stage of like Nishkam Karma Yoga, when we take shelter, of course there is some expectation of reciprocation from the Lord or the spiritual master, and like, so how to understand that Krishna, or as you already said, that miseries are mercy of the Lord and all, but how to understand that Krishna is reciprocating with us? Because to understand that part becomes difficult. Okay, we are taking shelter, but is it the reciprocation in form of the internal peace that we are getting, or reciprocation in the form of the circumstances are getting more favorable? What frame of mind we should have at that time, and how Krishna is reciprocating?
Good question. and we are taking shelter, we are expecting some reciprocation from Krishna or from devotees. So when we do not get such a reciprocation, how do we behave or how do we accept it? I would like to express on this as two, three aspects. One basic part is our expectation. Our expectation is we expect a particular type of reciprocation. We are expecting a particular kind of or a type of reciprocation, which if we don't get, we feel the person has not reciprocated. You want to get deep into it, you can read the section of Krishna talking to the gopis, the three kinds of reciprocations. Reciprocation, where gopis are feeling, what is this? We came in the dead of the night and you're telling us to go back. What kind of reciprocation is this? So that three different types, you can go through that very deep. So basically, one is we have a certain expectation of how a person should reciprocate. That is one thing. Like when we go for book distributions, so someday you may distribute 20 books, someday you may distribute 5 books, and someday you may distribute only one book, and someday you may distribute. So if somebody asks what is the result, one day you are saying 20, one day you are saying 10, one day you are saying 5, and one day you said 0. Is 0 is also a result? Yes or no? Yes. The result may not be palatable, but is 0 a result? Yes. Why yes? Because you have gone out to distribute. You did not get any customer to buy it, but you did your part. Is this sinking in? So 20 is also a result and 0 is also a result. It may not be palatable. Or sometimes it may so happen that it is not even 0 and somebody has pickpocketed also. Right? So we have, one is we have certain expectation of how I should get reciprocation. Second is we should not control how the reciprocation should come. Our part is, that's what Krishna is saying, Sarva Dharma Parityaja. Krishna is saying, rest assured, I will do the needful. But we are worried, karoge na? Doge na? We are worried whether Krishna will do his part. We are worried whether Krishna will do it the way I want it. We are worried whether I will get mercy the way I like it. You know? If we get Mahaprasad, that is mercy. If we get mirchi in Mahaprasad, I don't like this mercy. That is our concept. We like Gulab Jamun mercy. We like Gulab Jamun Mahaprasad. We don't like Mirchi Mahaprasad. Right? It's a natural tendency. Similarly, when mercy comes, we want a certain type of mercy. That means if I get an embrace, if I get a glance of the spiritual master, if I get, devotees are lovingly talking to me. So different, we are this we have to understand there are psychological needs, psychophysical needs. Each person has different. Some people want socializing. Some people want just an audience. Audience hai to bas khush hai. Some people want to talk. Some people want socializing, just being with devotees together. And some people want to accomplish. Some people want to do projects. Let's do something for Prabhupada. And then there are some who are doing, before doing something, first do some strategy planning. We need to have a blueprint. We need to have plan, organization, everything has to. So different people have different needs. Based on our different needs, we are expecting reciprocation like that. But we have to understand how Krishna reciprocates, when Krishna reciprocates, the process that we will not be able to understand from our angle. Like that embroidery example. If you look at the embroidery from below, it looks very shabby design. Only from the top it looks nice. From the below, it's very shabby. We are not able to understand the plan. But we have to be rest assured. Krishna says Suhurut. He is Suhurut, well-wisher. Like Prabhupada used to sign, you are ever well-wisher. No? That much guarantee we should have. That much assurance we should have. Krishna is giving that. No? Even when we are just taken to the process, even we are just 6 months old, even if we are 2 years old, even if we are 5 years old, even if we are 20 years old, Krishna is still taking care, just like a small babies. In fact, the more we are babies, the more one is cared, and the baby does not even realize that he cannot survive without that care, isn't it? Even if you look at the world around, so the more we are young in Krishna consciousness, the more there are others who are concerned about our Krishna consciousness than we are, isn't it? Otherwise, why do we have a morning program? Why do we have a process? Because there are others who are more concerned, the seniors or the leaders who are more concerned about our Krishna consciousness, about protecting our Krishna consciousness, even than we ourselves are. One is about the expectation, and second is about the different people may expect different reciprocation. But even in this may still appear theoretical, but still there is a need. That's why I address psychophysical needs. So some people may get shelter by just going in front of the Lord and offering prayers, but some people may want an embrace, may want a hug from the devotee. In that case, take shelter of devotees, because Krishna is not going to come out of the temple, out of the altar, and offer us a hug. But if there is a need, then do the needful in the association of devotees. Then in that case, we also have to extend ourselves. If we want others to reciprocate, our basic difficulty is, we expect others to start. What we should do? Atmavat sarvabhuteshu. Right? If we do it, we can expect a reciprocation on that. So of course, at the same, again, if you go to the first point, expectation, sometimes we may do it and others may not reciprocate, because his or her psychophysical needs may be different. So without getting much deeper into that, so multiple angles that we can understand. Hare Krishna. Okay, time. Any last comments? Close. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.